right? And their talents, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn things over to him. I think you're going to love what he has in store for you.
All right, very good. Well, good to see all you first graders.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here. It's been a couple years, though, since I've done this because of the pandemic. That's messed up everybody, hasn't it? All right, let me explain to you a little bit about what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend maybe a half hour, 35, 40 minutes giving a little presentation, and then there'll be time at the end for question and answers. And I found that first graders have better questions than adults sometimes. So I'm excited to find out what it is you want to know about what I do. But let me go through a little bit of the stuff that I do, and then we'll just see how this thing goes. You already know my name is Paul. My last name is Orshoski, which you guys pronounce really well. I'm a retired teacher. I was a physical education teacher, actually, when I first started teaching. And then I taught driver's ed, I taught yearbook and school newspaper. So I've always had this interest in writing, and it led me to write rhyming children's poetry, which is what I do. I write books for beginning readers like yourself, and then I write poems for books that include nothing but poems. But just so you know, I was an educator. I did that for 35 years. I was a school administrator, and now I'm retired and been retired for, I don't know, 9 or 10 years. I lose track. But anyway, that's a little bit about what I do. I write rhyming children's poetry. And if you look at the table and if you look at the screen, these are some of the books that I've been involved with writing. The books in the top row are mostly for kids in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. They're called poetry anthology books. And all that is a big word for books that have a lot of poems in them by many different authors. And I have 1 or 2 poems in each one of those books. And these books were published originally by a company called Meadowbrook Press. And I was interested in their books because of the titles. For instance, Dinner with Dracula. My teacher's in detention. Who wouldn't love to see their teacher in detention? Yeah, I hear you. This one is called I've Been Burping in the Classroom. Some of you have probably burped in the classroom and made other sounds in the classroom. Anyway, that's why I got attracted to those books. But the books that I want to talk to you about are the books in the 2nd and the 3rd row. Those books are published by a company called Treasure Bay Books, which is located in California. And I write a series of books, or I write for a series called We Read Phonics. And these books are written for children that are just your age. The idea is that hopefully a person in 1st grade or 2nd grade could pick up one of these books and the words would be simple enough that a child your age could read all by yourself. So the idea is to be able to read one of these books without any help from a parent or a grandparent or a teacher. But on the next slide, these books are also published by Treasure Bay, but these books are called We Both Read. And the way the We Both Read books works is this. The words on, let's take one of these. The words on the left page, there are more words on that page, so that page is read by an adult. It could be a teacher, a librarian, a grandparent, a sister, brother. So the older person would read the words on this page, and then the younger person would read the easier words on the left page. So I have, 3 books in that series. You'll see 2 books. These 2 books are the same title, but this book is written only in English, and this one is written both in English and in Spanish, because apparently Spanish-speaking schools like using these books to help young kids learn how to speak Spanish. So I have 2 books that I absolutely did nothing with, and they turned them into books because somebody in their office knows how to speak Spanish. I don't know how to speak Spanish. So those are the We Both Read books. Then these books, these 4 here, I self-published, and the reason I did that was because I use these 2 books, What State Am I and What President Am I use those when I speak to kids that are in 4th, 5th, 6th grade. And the reason I do that is because this book, What State Am I, has a poem about every state in the United States. And this book has a poem about every well, I don't have one for President Biden yet. I got to get up to speed. But I have a poem about every president, and it just makes me have more fun with the older kids. and they get really focused on trying to figure out what state I'm talking about. So I needed something to help me get to have more interaction with the older kids, and that's what I came up with. And then this book, I used to be a coach, so this book is mostly for young athletes. It's really not a poetry book. It's actually a book that I used to give to my athletes of all kinds of motivational stuff. I mean, it's the exact same thing that I gave out to my varsity athletes when I was a coach. And then this poem is another poetry anthology. It's the last book that I had a poem in. And again, it's probably got like 130 poems. I have one poem in there, but it's got poets in there from all over, not just the United States, but from England and all over the world. So those are the books that I've been involved with writing. Either I have a poem or two in each book, or I've written the beginning reader books by myself. And I think there's 24 of them. Now, what am I here today for? Well, I'm here because it's Right to Read Week, or whatever title you've given it. But basically, it's to get you excited about reading. And that's what I hope to do today. I'm going to share a couple of poems that I've written with you, maybe some of the beginning reader books, answer your questions. But my whole idea is to try to get you more excited about reading and writing. And you're probably looking at me and saying, yeah, give it a shot. Well, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try to get you excited about it. I hope that I can make you laugh. I hope I can make you think about wanting to go back, and maybe some of you will be excited about becoming an author. Or maybe you don't like to write, but you like to draw. You can become an illustrator. So that's really what I want to do, is to try to get you motivated to walk out of here and get more excited about reading and writing. And if I can make you laugh a little bit, then it's been a good day. Are you good with that? Yeah! All right, let's try this. When I first started going to schools, there was one question kids always ask me. They want to know, what do you write about? And my answer is simply this. I write about things that I know something about. It's not that hard. I can remember when I first started thinking about being an author, I would start to write, and then I'd scrunch up the paper and throw it away, and I would say to myself, what makes you think anybody's going to be interested in anything that you have to say? And so I let that keep me back from getting started. And all I really knew how to do was to write rhyming poems. My mom, when I was a little kid, would write us poems. You know, like if a birthday came up or Halloween, she would write rhyming poems, and she would make us giggle, and I liked them. And then I learned that when I started writing them and gave them to her, her eyes lit up and she would like the poems. So I thought, wow, I can make my mom laugh. My mom likes it. Maybe they're... So that's what I started doing. I just started writing these silly, crazy, goofy poems, and I never dreamed anything would come from them. But these silly poems have allowed me to go to like 25 or 26 different states, talking to schools. I've been to places that I never would have been otherwise, and I just have a blast doing it. So I write about things that I know something about, and I don't make it any more complicated than that. And there are 3 subjects that I think I know just about as much as there is to know about. And those are the things that I write about. And the first subject that I think I know something about is my family. I write about my family. Now, there's a kid in this room that's his mother. Micah's mother is that girl. She's my youngest daughter and my feistiest daughter. But I put her picture up there because I write about my family. Now, when my grandkids come over and they're running around the house or in the backyard, they think I'm not paying attention, but I'm watching whatever's going on because I'm always looking for ideas to write poems about. And that's why I write about my family, because they're right there in front of me. I know them. The second thing I write about is myself. Sometimes embarrassing things might happen to me, or funny things might happen, and I'm not afraid to make fun of myself or make a joke about myself. So I write about the things that have happened to me. And then the third thing I write about are the things that have happened over the years at school. And I used to say nothing new can happen at school, but that's not true. Every year, things happen that never happened before. Teachers can tell you. So I don't say that anymore. I just look for things that happen at school, and these are the things I write about. Family, self, and school. And the first poem I want to share with you is about a family member, and it's called Granny. And it goes like this. Now I'm going to try to trick you, so you got to pay attention. You ready? All right. Granny came to live with us one sunny summer day. Her hair has started thinning. What's left has now turned gray. Granny doesn't chew her food because she has no teeth. She won't go in the basement because the stairway looks too steep. Granny hides her slippers, and she does it every day. If we don't keep an eye on her, she sometimes slips away. Granny trims her toenails. How gross is that? Pretty bad, right? Anyway, Granny trims her toenails and cleans behind her ears, but she hasn't had a bubble bath in over 7 years. Granny hates to exercise. Her face is getting fat. The only time she breaks a sweat is when she kicks the cat. Granny needs replacement hips. Now look closely. There's whiskers on her throat. She likes to go outside at night, but never wears a coat. Hang in there with me, teachers. The hair on the throat, I had to throw it. Anyway, Granny mostly lies around, just sleeping like a log. I hope by now you've all figured out that Granny is our pet dog. You think I would talk about Granny like that? No, I probably wouldn't. Especially if I talked about my granny. I had a granny that was a little short lady, but she was pretty thick and powerful. If she ever dreamed that I would be up here one day talking about her, she wouldn't like that at all. But anyway, that is a story about a real pet that we had in our family. When my son was a little guy, he wanted a pet dog, and I didn't want a pet dog. I'm not a big animal guy. But he went to my wife, and he begged her, please let me have a dog. I'll feed it. I'll take care of it. If it has an accident in the kitchen, I'll clean it up. Do you think he did those things? No. You're correct. He did not. I did, or my wife did. So anyway, this was a dog that I had really kind of not a great relationship with, because it seemed like every time I was walking through the house, the dog would get in my way. I'd trip over her. We had stairs, and she used to go up and down the steps, but as she got older, she wouldn't go down the steps anymore because she had bad hips. The veterinarian actually told us that dog's hips hurt her, so that's why she doesn't go up and down the steps. And she had beautiful black hair, but then when she got older, they turned gray, and that's why I put the hair on the throat. You don't think I'd talk about a lady with hair on the throat, do you? No. But I had to get your attention, and hopefully you got the idea of what I try to do. I try to get you to laugh. I try to get you to think a little bit. And the next one is similar. This next poem goes back to, again, when I was a child. We had 6 kids in my family. There were 3 boys and 3 girls. And nowadays, if you go someplace, you get in a minivan or an SUV. When I was a kid, you had what was called a station wagon. Oh, I know. And I don't know if they're still around or not, but my mom and dad would load us up in the station wagon. There'd be 2 or 3 of us way back and a couple more over here. We learned not to sit behind the seat where my dad was sitting because we would always take our feet and kick his bottom, and he didn't like that. So we never sat behind him because we didn't want him getting mad at us. But we would always get fired up and go on these trips, and my mom would spend all day making peanut butter and jelly or bologna sandwiches. And then we'd all get in the car, and what's the first thing you'd say? Dad, are we there yet? So that's where I got the idea for this poem from the many trips we would take as a family. So here's how it goes. Dad, are we there yet? What's taking so long? How come we're not moving? Has something gone wrong? I'm car sick. I'm tired. My underwear's wet. I'm dizzy. I'm fainting. My tummy's upset. Hey, Mom, crack the window. I'm sweating like mad. I'm thirsty. I'm hungry. My head's hurting bad. My seatbelt's too tight. Watch out. There's a cop. I'm starting to vomit. You might need a mop. People are honking. They're starting to pass. I guess you forgot, Dad, to fill up with gas. So some of you must have been in that situation. I can tell you what, when I was a little kid, there were many times, 3 or 4 times at least, where we would head down the road and all of a sudden the car would start sputtering and put, and we'd run out of gas. So that's where I got the idea for that one. Now this one is a true story. It actually happened to me. Let me share with you the poem, and then I'll tell you the details about how I got the idea for this poem. I thought I saw a ghost last night, a goblin or a ghoul, an ugly little creature oozing slobber and some drool. It had an eerie figure and a huge, gigantic nose. It wasn't wearing sneakers, and it wasn't wearing clothes. It floated through my bedroom as I tried to catch some Z's. It appeared to have some pimples or an awful skin disease. I rubbed the sleep from both my eyes and moved a little nearer. I knew what I had seen was just my image in the mirror. Like I said, that really happened to me. And the way it happened was, several years ago, one night in the middle of the night, I had to get up to go to the bathroom. And the bathroom wasn't attached to our bedroom in this particular house. So I had to leave the bedroom, go down the hallway, turn left to go into the bathroom. And on this particular night, when I walked into the bathroom, I truly, honestly thought that I had seen a ghost. Because when I walked in, I saw something moving, and I was frightened to death, and I thought I'd seen a ghost. And for a few seconds, I mean, it seemed like forever, but for a few seconds, I was just frozen. I didn't know what to do. And then I calmed down for a second, I turned on the light, and I looked straight ahead where I saw the ghost, and what did I see? My ugly face looking back at me in the mirror. And so that's how I got the idea for that poem. And so it's an example how you can write about a true incident, something that maybe happened to you, and turn it into something that you can talk to other people about. Now this poem, here's the reason I share this poem. Sometimes your teachers are going to ask you to write an assignment, and they might ask you to try to be very descriptive with your words, so that a person reading your words can actually visualize in their mind what the words are trying to describe. And that's what I'm trying to do with this poem. So I wrote this as if it's a note from a child to his or her mother. So it starts out just like a note with, "Dear Mother, I've been captured by zombies. They're picking my brain. They've handcuffed my wrist to a fast-moving train. They've nibbled my fingers, gnawed off all my toes, stuffed bugs in my mouth, and worms up my nose. They've shackled my ankles, blindfolded my eyes, managed to spin my head counterclockwise. I'll phone when I'm able, and things aren't so wild. Sincerely and truly, your precious young child." Now, nothing I've said up to now is quite true, Mom. I'm at a friend's house for an hour or two. I wrote to remind you that things could be worse than the scores on my grade card, which I stuck in your purse. Now, none of you ever take home a bad grade card, do you? No, most of you don't, but I did. And when I was a kid, I had this problem. My sister got straight A's, and she'd take her grade card home and she'd lollygag in there, and my mom would just praise her, and then I'd come in with less than A's. You get the picture? And so every once in a while, I would try to come up with an idea to get her mind off my grade card and to try to think about something else. So if I would say, hey, we had a sister named Kelly, I would say, "Hey, Mom, here's my grade card, but Kelly's out in the back. She's playing in the traffic." You think my mom would be distracted to take her mind? No, she didn't. My mom was too smart. So every time I had a bad grade card, I had no choice but to hand it to my mom. But this is an idea of what I tried to come up with, to get her mind off my grade card, but it never really worked. Now, this next one, I know you guys are getting older than the kindergartners, but the kindergartners had fun with this, and I want to see how well you do. Sometimes kids have a hard time figuring out how does a poet make words rhyme. So what I'm going to do is read the lines leading up to the blank spot. And when I get to the blank space, if you think you know the word that should go in there, say it out loud if you want to. If you're afraid you're going to have the wrong word, then you don't have to say it out loud. But let's just see if we can write a poem together. Here we go. I was bitten by the book bug on a frosty winter day. The bug bite didn't leave a mark or hurt in any way. Perfect. He's got it. The bug bite didn't break my skin. The bug bite didn't bleed. The bug bite simply left me with a giant urge to read. Very good. I read 100 storybooks all day and through the night. And now I know what happens when you let the book bugs bite. Perfect. Can we do one more of those? Yeah. Mary had a little lamb, yep, which wasn't very bright because it never quite learned how to talk or read and write. Mary had a little itch, so she scratched it every night. And during Right to Read Week, she let the book bugs bite. Wonderful. Mary now is very smart. She read Green Eggs and Ham. And though she still has more to learn, she's smarter than her lamb. So now, you're all poets, whether you want to be or not. How do you think of that? What do you think of that? All right, now, here's one of the We Both Read books that I would like to share with you. It takes a little bit of a time, but what I like about this book is some of you are getting, okay, how much do I want to pay attention to this guy? This book takes you through a whole bunch of emotions. And at some point during this book, it'll be very quiet in here. And if it isn't, I'll be shocked. You don't have to be quiet on your own. I just hope that the words do that to you. It's called My Sitter is a T-Rex. It's about a dinosaur who goes to this little guy's house to be his babysitter. And it's one of these We Both Read books, so if you're sitting down with an adult, the adult would read the words on this page, and the child would read the easier words on that page. And the only other thing I want to point out is if there is a new word to be introduced to the child, the word will be in bold letters on both pages, and it'll be repeated on both pages. So that's how we try to introduce new words to kids. So look at it, look for it as we go for the bold letters. All right, here we go. My parents have a date tonight. They're going to a show. I asked them, who will babysit? Mom says she doesn't know. She says I called an agency. I called them rather late. They only have one sitter left, but I'm sure she will be great. The doorbell rings. Mom lets her in. I stare with great surprise. A dinosaur is at my door. I can't believe my eyes. She says, I'm here to babysit. That's what I plan to do. Most people call me Miss T-Rex, but you can call me Sue. I hide in back of Mom and Dad. My legs begin to shake. I beg them, please, you cannot leave. There must be some mistake. But Dad says, things will be just fine. I'm sure she is a jewel. We really have to say goodbye. Then Sue begins to drool. I see her teeth and 2 short arms. I soon begin to cry. But Mom and Dad fly out the door. Miss T-Rex waves goodbye. I run for cover to my room. I scream and race to hide. I sneak behind a chest of drawers. My fear is deep and wide. And soon, I'm underneath my bed. I'm too afraid to peek. Sue spots me and says, peekaboo, let's play some hide and seek. But I dash away. Sue counts to 10. My legs are feeling numb. Then Sue roars loudly, ready, set. You guessed it, here I come. I try to hide as best I can. I'm scared, more than before. Please go away, I say to Sue. She sits down on the floor. Come out and say hello to me. This T-Rex sounds so sweet. You do not wish to come and play? Then I will go and eat. So Sue begins to hunt for food. I give a careful stare. She opens up the freezer door and flings it through the air. She grabs a drumstick from the fridge and stuffs it in her face. She picks up every speck of food and empties out the place. She pours a cup of purple punch. She grabs a slab of pie. She slips and trips on Mom's new rug. I see the cup fly by. Sue wanders to the living room. Her food is stacked up high. I sneak around to take a peek as Sue goes stomping by. Her tail rips all the curtains down. A lamp gets shattered too. She breaks a pretty flower vase. Oh no, that lamp was new. She lumbers past the TV set. The room begins to shake. A clock high on the wall falls down. I see it smash and break. Sue shuffles to an easy chair. She sits and rests her feet. She grabs my dad's remote control and eats another treat. I see the chair begin to sway. I hear it creak and groan. She dumps her purse out on the floor so she can find her phone. Sue sends a text to all her friends. They text her back. She grins. She laughs so hard she starts to snort, and in the chair she spins. Sue gets up from her easy chair and says, I think I'll read. She searches through the shelves of books for one she just might read. She spots a book on outer space and one about a clown. She spots a book and all the books fall down. Sue walks back through the kitchen door. Her tummy needs more food. She quickly chugs a soda down and burps real loud. How rude. She chews a wad of bubble gum. I cannot help but stare. She blows a great big bubble. Pop! Now gum is everywhere. The gum is on her nose and lips. It's on her cheek and chin. It's in her tail. It's on her feet. It's on her spine and skin. The gum is sticking to the rug. It's sticking to my hair. There's some stuck on the window pane. There's some stuck to the chair. The ceiling also has some gum, and so does Mom's clean floor. There's some stuck on the tabletop. There's some stuck on the door. By now, I've had enough of this. I storm in, raving mad. When Mom comes home to see this mess, it's going to make her sad. My dad will be unhappy too. His patience is quite thin. I turn to Sue and yell at her, why did we let you in? You broke my mother's flower vase. You filled me up with fear. You ate our food and made a mess. I wish you were not here. Sue looks surprised by what I said. She hangs her head down low. Her lips begin to tremble and her tears begin to flow. She lifts her head and looks at me. Her eyes are big and sad. She says, I'm sorry for this mess and that I made you mad. I tried to do my very best. I did not want to fail. Now I'll clean up the mess I've made. I'll get a mop and pail. Now I feel bad that Sue is sad. Perhaps I was too mean. So I climb Sue's neck and hug her chin and say, I'll help you clean. We go to work together now to fix the vase and clock. We also fix the broken lamp while chanting tick tick tock. We put the curtains back in place, the clock back on the wall. We have a few things yet to do. At least I hope that's all. We go into the kitchen next to fix the freezer door. I have some screws and handy tools. Sue lifts me off the floor. We grab some soap and two big mops. A scraper and a mop. We scrape and clean the sticky mess. My home is rid of slop. We find some pillows and a quilt and sit down on the floor. I start to read a book to Sue, but then I hear her snore. I leave her sleeping peacefully. I kiss her on the cheek. I hope I do not wake her up, and to my bed I sneak. When Mom and Dad at last come home, Mom asks, how did it go? Did you both get along okay? I'd really like to know. I haven't had such fun, I say, since can't remember when. I wave to Sue and say to Mom, I want Sue back again. The end. It started out pretty bad, didn't it?
Yeah.
Did it end up all right?
Yeah.
Did you see the part where you guys got real quiet?
Yeah.
When the little boy yelled at the dinosaur, right?
Yeah.
How many of you felt bad for the dinosaur? Most of you did. But it all turned out pretty well. Do you think that kid will have that dinosaur back again?
Yeah.
I think so too. All right, we have time. I would like one more book. This one goes much quicker. And then we'll go to question and answers, and we'll see what kind of questions you want answered. This one is called Who Took the Cookbook? It's one of the We Read Phonics books. It's written so that hopefully when you're in second grade, if not first grade, you can pick it up and read every single word all by yourself. All right, here we go. The cook in our lunchroom makes really good chow. The food that she makes has us all shouting, wow. Her treats are outstanding. Her beets make us proud. She broils up chicken that draws a big crowd. She simmers up cheese that we like on our chips. Her hot toasted cookies give joy to our lips. We love the sweet taffy she made yesterday. If you got a grade, hers would get a big A. However, today, it is awful and foul. The mouthful I took, I spit out in a towel. The salad was droopy. The green beans were brown. We all hollered, yuck, and that made the cook frown. The eggs were not boiled. The sausage was raw. It was really disgusting, the things that we saw. One student was pouting. She started to wail. I may just throw up. Would you grab me a pail? The cook was upset and she started to cry. My food is no good, and you need to know why. My cookbook is missing. There must be a crook. I left it right here on this chair in my nook. My cookbook explains all the things I must do. Without it, my meals will be too hard to chew. My food is now bad, when it once made you drool. We must find that cookbook. Please search the whole school. So, who took the cookbook?
Bandits.
Was it a prowler, maybe one of these guys, or a goon? We had to find out, and we had to know Sue. Our class clown was cornered, but he said, why blame me? I don't even like books. So we let him go free. We hunted for hours. We peeked round and round. The cookbook, it seemed, was just not to be found. We sent for a hound dog. Would he bring us luck? He stepped in some taffy. His paws were soon stuck. The dog could not move, so I helped pull him free. And then I found out he was sticking to me. Some boys said, no problem, we know what to do. And soon we were all stuck together like glue. I called the cook over and said with a wink, while stuck in this mess, I just happened to think, would you turn around? Let me have a good look. There, stuck to her dress, was the missing cookbook. Her face filled with joy, she said thanks with a grin. I promise I'll never cook taffy again. How'd that cookbook get on her dress? The taffy. Why do you think we brought the dog in? What was the idea of bringing the dog in? Do you know? The dog would sniff out clues. That was what the hope was. Well, I never dreamed that anything I would write would be published in a book. But it's always something that I wanted to try to do. I loved to read as a child, And then as I got older, and even now, I just love to read. And I just always thought it would be kind of cool if you could ever write something that interests other people. And I always told myself that if I ever got something published in a book, then I would try to go visit schools. And so that's how it started. It just started with a love for reading and writing. And then I just wanted to try to see if I could do it. Never thought it would happen. And then when it did happen, I was amazed, happy, excited. And it's just, for me, it's just a lot of fun. Yes? Oh, she wants to know what was the first book. I got to answer that 2 ways. The first book that ever had a poem in it was this one. I have a poem in here. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's Fine and Friday or something. But it's a poem about school. And the first book that I ever wrote that had my name on the cover as the author was this one here. And so this is probably my favorite one because it was the first one. And the other reason it's a favorite of mine is because the main character is a frog named Ben, and I have a grandson named Ben. And I remember when I was writing the book, I told him when the book came out that I wrote a book about him. But I really did want to name the frog Ben because of my grandson. But the whole book was focused on small words like that. Ben, den, or mud, thud, that type of thing. And so maybe the teachers are interested. The way these books work, the company would actually send me the sight words and the vowel sounds and the sounds that they wanted in the book. And I literally would take their list and try to get every word that I could into it. And it was not, you probably heard the story about Dr. Seuss and the Cat in the Hat. He wrote that with like 90-something words, and somebody betting that he couldn't write a book with that few words, and he wrote a lot of books. How about right here with the bluish shirt, number 10?
How old are you?
I'm 68. I don't look a day over 70, do I?
I've been wondering that question.
You've been wondering? All right. How about right there with the red Nike shirt on? Yes.
Can I tell you something?
Yes.
You know me and Micah are friends?
I do now. Good to know. All right. How about right here with the face mask?
How many books do you read?
I made 24, I believe. How about with the awesome shirt on? Yeah. The last book that had a poem in it is this one called 1 Minute Till Bedtime. And this was a big deal because it includes poets from around the whole world, not just the United States. And I got one poem in there. But the last book that I wrote by myself is the cookbook one. So that's that one. I'm having trouble with my books. How about right here? Yes. Yes.
One time, like, actually, that, like, the Are We There? That story that almost happened to us because, our car ended up at 1 mile left, and we were so close, but we got to the gas.
So you can relate to that, right?
Yeah.
Very good. That's what I'm trying to do. How about right over here? Let's go with the glasses. I started writing, my whole life I've been a writer. Even in junior high and high school, I remember writing and trying, you get assignments in class, you have to write paragraphs and stuff like that. But I got serious about it. I was probably 50 years old before I really got interested. And I truly didn't think I would ever get anything published. But I thought, you're never going to know if you don't try it. So I had 10 poems that I wrote, and I sent them to this company. This company, the book was published by a company called Meadowbrook Press, and I sent them 10 poems, and I never heard anything back from them. So I sent them an email, and I kept bugging them. And finally I got somebody's attention, and they actually called me, and I said, I would really love to get a poem in one of your books. Could you at least read them? Because I wasn't even sure they read them. And the lady read them and said, yeah, there's a couple in there we think we can use. And that's how I got started. So I got started about age 50. So it's been about 18 or 20 years. It takes about 2 years from the time you're done writing the words until it actually comes out as a book. So it takes time. More than anything, it takes patience. And when people turn you down, you can't let that get you down. You got to keep sending them in, because I can't tell you how many people told me what I wrote was not good enough. So you just have to keep going. Right here, and then Mike, I'll get you, and then I'll go right here with the blue shirt. Go ahead. The first book is this one with the poem in it, and then what's the first book I read? The first book I remember reading was Green Eggs and Ham. You got a question? All right, right here. Go ahead. The best book? Oh, I'm glad you asked that question. Let me answer it by telling you a little bit about how the money thing works. For each poem that I had in this book, I got paid $100 for each poem. But that's all I ever got for writing the works. Now, if I go to a school visit and somebody wants to buy books, I don't push the books, but if somebody wants them, I have them. And so I can get them for half price, and then I make a little money on the books. Now, on this book, I got $500 for writing the words for this book, and then I got $2,000 for writing. But here's my favorite books are the We Both Read books, and the reason why is because as these books sell, there's what's called a royalty. So the more books that sell, the more I keep getting money for the books. And so it's taken about 10 years, but these books, these We Both Read books, the Dinosaur book and the Mouse in My House, have finally gotten to a point where twice a year I might get like $100, $200, but you don't get rich doing it. You don't get rich writing kids' books unless you write a Harry Potter book or a Wimpy Kid book, and that isn't me. I'm trying, but it hasn't happened yet. So that's why the We Both Read books are my favorite, because you keep bringing in the kids. But not much. How about, who didn't I ask? Right here.
When are you going to make your next book?
You know what? I'm always in the middle of a poem, but I honestly don't have any projects that I'm working on. This company, this Treasure Bay Books, I've probably written 2 or 3 books that are done, and they've accepted them to be books, but they're just sitting there. And I keep bugging them, when are you going to turn it into, yeah, we're going to do it, we just haven't gotten around to it yet. So I keep waiting for them to do it. Now, they came out with that one, the mouse book, that is a Spanish book too, so I was happy about that. But to tell you that I actually have a project or a book that I'm working on, I don't have right now. I probably need to do that. Yes? The second book was Bugs on the Bus, right here. Bugs on the Bus. Go ahead. Here, you think about it. I'll come back. Right there in the black shirt, in the paper. Yes. Right there. Go ahead. You got a question? She forgot. How about the Edison shirt? You know what? I think the 5th book was, it was either I Do Not Like Greens or Robot Man. So one of them was the 4th one, and they're both level 4, but that's how I remember which one. How about right back there? Yes. How did I become an author? I became an author by simply trying. I would spend some time writing down my words, and then what I did was I got on the internet, and all I wrote was these silly kids' poems. So I remember getting on the internet and typing in silly, funny kids' books, and I came across a webpage called It was by Meadowbrook Press. I can't remember what the name was. But anyway, I got all the information about that book company by going to the internet. And I noticed that they had an address that said, if you want to try to get your poems published, send them to this address. And that's what I did. And that's how I went about doing it. How about back there with the yellow shirt on? Yes.
What's your birthday?
My birthday is March 6th. A very famous guy is born on that same day. Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh,
I think it is. Anyway. Right here with the glasses. Yes.
The NBA.
You forgot? You think of it, and then I'll come back to you. Right here. The first book that I put a poem in was My Teacher's in Detention. How about right here with the gray sweatshirt?
Me? Why did you write Dinner with Dracula?
Why did I write Dinner with Dracula? Because the book company, they sent out to all of their authors, they sent an email and said, we want to come out with a book about Halloween, and we want crazy poems about goblins and ghosts and witches and dragons, and we want you to send your 10 best Halloween-type poems to us, and if any of them are any good, we'll put them in a book called Dinner with Dracula. So that poem I shared with you about the ghost, that's in that book. And then the other one is Bigfoot's Bottom, which is a story about Bigfoot sitting in the ground, and instead of footprints, his bottom print.
That's funny.
Thank you. How about, you got it now?
Yeah, when did you come out?
The first poem, I completed the first 2 poems I got in a book in the year 2004. So that's like 18 years ago. So that's about the time I got serious. So I was like 50 years old because I'm 68 now. So it took me a long time to get serious. So I guess what I'm saying is, you're never too old, but you're never too young either. If you're good enough, it doesn't matter what your age is. Right there in the greenish. No, you. Yes.
Why did you write poems instead of stories?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question. Her question is, why do I write poems instead of regular stories? Because I'm good at writing poems, but I'm not good. Well, let me say, you guys decide if I'm good or not. I was able to get published poems. I tried to get other stuff published, but I didn't. So I guess I don't write regular words as good or as interesting as I do write poems. If it's easy for me to write poems, and it's easy for me to make words rhyme, but it isn't that easy for everybody. But I also use a rhyming dictionary. There's a rhyming dictionary on the internet. When I sit down to write a poem, if I get stuck with a word that I'm trying to rhyme, I go to the internet, I go to the rhyming dictionary, and I type in the word that I'm trying to rhyme, and it gives me all the other words that rhyme with it. And if I still can't find a word to rhyme with it, I go to something called a thesaurus, which will give me a word that means the same thing, and then I try to rhyme that word. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but that's what I try to do.
What's that part?
Huh?
What's
Okay.
that part?
How about right here with the blue shirt?
Who are your siblings?
Who are my siblings? Well, I have a sister named Doreen who used to work at the Sandusky Library, and she's a big genealogy person. She likes. I've taken her to cemeteries so she can take a picture of the earth instead of a grave marker. So I have her. I have a brother in Georgia named Todd. I have a sister named Robin. I have a sister named Kelly. And I had a brother named Matt. I'm the second oldest. Okay, so those are there's 3 girls and 3 boys, and so I have 2 brothers and 3 sisters. Yes?
What is your oldest book?
The oldest book is probably this one. This was the one that came out first. It's not really my book, it's just a book that I have a poem or 2 in.
Genetic Secret?
Yes. Who else?
Oh.
Okay, right there. Yeah.
What is your favorite book
My favorite books of the books that I've been involved with are probably the two that I read to you. The Dinosaur book and the Cookbook. And the reason I like those books is because when I first started doing this, I had a hard time keeping attention of kindergartners, first and second graders. And the Dinosaur book, because it takes you through so many emotions, it was able to get kids plugged in. And so sometimes I have a problem with this. I get you giggling about burps and stuff like that with the poems, and I can't get you back under control. So sometimes I got to go right to the Dinosaur book to get back control. So I have different tricks that I use, but those are the two books that I found work best for this age group. Yes? Yes.
What's the second book?
The second book was Bugs on the Bus. Yep, go ahead, bud. You started.
Me?
Yeah, go ahead.
What's your favorite book?
My favorite book that I wrote, probably the Dinosaur book. My sitter is the dinosaur, T-Rex. Right here, young lady. Is that a lady? Yes.
How do you come up with the names of your books?
Oh, what a question. With the poems, I learned that the poetry books that I was writing for, they simply usually took the first line of the poem, and that's what they gave the title of the poem. But for the book, what I try to do is I try to write the story, and then at the end, when I read it all the way through, I just try to come up with an idea, what's one simple idea that the whole book is about. So I try to give it a title, but sometimes the company changes the title and they make it what they want to make. And I live with it because they're the boss and I'm just happy to get a book in their company. But that's what I try to do. I try to make it one idea. What is the book totally about? And sometimes they like the idea and they go with my title. Sometimes they go with their own title.